Hello everyone, welcome to Dynamics 365 Business Central launch event. My name is Sandy Winarko. I'm a Principal Product Manager for Business Central. And today I would like to show what's new in Dataverse and Dynamics 365 App Integration Part 2. As you probably noticed already, Part 1 has been presented by my colleague, Ivan Koletic, and this is actually a build-up to that session. So the agenda for today's session is first I will tell you the different mission for Dataverse integration and for Dynamics 365 app integration. And then I will talk about the complementary app or system interaction that form the fabric of Dataverse integration. And what are the key improvements for this complementary app interaction that we plan for this release. And one of this improvement is actually a major one that have been requested by many partners and customers, which is Power Page support via virtual tables. And then at the end, I will show you the demo of all this improvement. All right, let's start with the mission. First, the mission for Dataverse integration is to offer extensive fabric or tools to integrate Dynamics 365 Business Central online with other first and third-party business apps. So not only for other Dynamics business app, but also for other third-party partners business app that's run on Dataverse, promoting better together scenarios through wider and deeper interaction within Business Central and those apps. What does extensive means? Extensive means we want to cover all type of app or system instructions, such as replication or synchronization, or what we're still calling data sync, virtualization or virtual tables, change notification, or what we call data cut events, data created, updated, or deleted events, action notification, or what we call business events, right? Better together means Business Central and all those first and third-party business apps should be integrated in such a way that they enhance each other, fulfilling the proverbial 1 + 1 = 3 when used together in complex business processes. For example, a business process that often used with this integration are lead, opportunity, quote, or order to cash. And wider and deeper means the integration should increase the breadth and depth of the interaction, respectively leveraging more and more types and degrees of interaction between Business Central and those apps, such that the fabric of integration are well intertwined together and increase the stickiness of those apps. All right? Now, the mission for Dynamics 365 app integration is actually built up on the Dataverse integration mission, essentially to implement the optimal approach to integrate Business Central online with first-party Dynamics 365 apps using the fabric and tools of Dataverse integration that I mentioned before. The optimal means we want to achieve maximum business impact with minimal integration effort, prioritizing in-demand apps complementary to Business Central. For example, we have started integrating with Dynamic 365 Sales, and we are considering to integrate next with the field service and customer service and marketing, etc. So we want to enable natural business process handover, such that, for example, when you're dealing with code, you should be doing processing code using Sales, and then when you're dealing with invoice, you hand over to Business Central. So you make sure that this natural handover avoid functionality overlap whenever possible within those apps. So let me talk about the complementary app interaction that form the fabric of Dataverse integration. Let me just give you a review. First, the data sync that actually replicate data changes whenever data is created, updated, or deleted between overlapping tables in Business Central and Dataverse. For example, in this picture, the overlapping tables are account table, native account table in Dataverse with the vendor and customer table in Business Central. So you can actually sync those tables together using data sync, right? The second interaction is virtual tables that actually enable inbound interaction from Dataverse into Business Central using Business Central CRUD API without replicating data. So that's another interaction that's enabled through this integration, right? So essentially, you can actually you can use data sync and virtual tables complementary to each other. If you have a big read-only table, you don't really need to sync and copy all the data into Dataverse. You can actually just use virtual table, such that Dataverse can actually read that data from Business Central without duplicating it. The third interaction type is actually what we call data cut events that enable outbound interaction. So basically from Business Central to shout to Dataverse saying like, hey, there's something changed in me. So if whenever there's a data changes, data being created, updated, or deleted, Business Central can actually trigger Power Automate flows using when a row is added, modified, or deleted trigger. So that's actually enabling the integration, outbound integration from Business Central into Dataverse. And finally, another outbound interaction is when Business Central can tell Dataverse that there's an action performed on their data or on anything, anywhere on the app itself. So in this case, it's called business event. And this business event can actually trigger Power Automate flows that using when an action is performed trigger on Dataverse side. So the improvement on those 4 complementary app interactions that come with this release are, for example, on data syncs, I will refer you to the first part of the session that was presented by my colleagues, Ivan Koletic, which is the session is called the same like this session. What's new in Dataverse and Dynamics 365 app integration part 1. My colleague will talk about all the improvement in the data synchronization area. And on the virtual tables, essentially, I'd like to announce the first time general availability, or GA, that's coming this November for our virtual tables. And a big feature that enabled our virtual tables, which is the preview of Power Pages support that allow access to BC data from unlicensed user. I will talk more about it, and I will demo that features later. An improvement on the data cut events, essentially we increase the amount of event can be processed within 30 seconds delay time. It used to be 100 data change event. Now we can actually process 1,000 and to be sent a separate notification, right? These numbers, the number of notification and delay time is actually controlled by server settings. And the server setting on Business Central are called API subscription max number of notification and API subscription delay time. These server settings can actually be changed using your own extension. So if you want to increase the number of notification or reduce the time of delay, you can actually use your extension to subscribe or listen to the on get maximum number of notification and on get delay time events. This event is triggered when the base app of Business Central try to read that server settings. When that happens, your extension can actually intercept and override that value, the default value of 130 seconds, into any value you want. All right? And finally, on business event, we have 3 improvements. Business event is still in preview, and we are targeting a GA in the release after this one. Right now, we're actually adding versioning support when we released version 1.0 of events right now. Previously, we released version 0. Now we have version 1.0. And we also introduced a troubleshooting support that enabled by 2 system tables, external event subscription and external event activity log, that also come with the UI pages that's coming in this November 2023. And finally, we also send all those events to partner telemetry to application insight, such that you can actually query all the events that generated from Business Central. Okay, and that's also targeted for November 23. So I'll show all those demos also at the end. All right, so let's talk about the big feature that we announced for this release, which is Power Pages support via virtual tables. Right? So Power Pages support via virtual tables is actually enable access to BC data in 3 main scenarios. The first scenario is anonymous access for external or unlicensed user without signing in. So this is the first time that we are actually allowing non-licensed BC user, external user, like for example, a user from your customer or your vendors, to actually access BC data without signing in. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is like if when you allow those external unlicensed user to sign in, so then the scenario become authenticated access for those user after registration and signing in. So that's also a way for us to show related relevant data to those authenticated user. Those are the two new scenarios that's introduced with the Power Pages access. The third scenario is essentially a scenario that you already have. For example, essentially a virtual table access. This is authenticated access for internal or licensed user. You already internal or licensed user can only they can already access BC data using Power Apps like model-driven app or using Power Automate, right? So now we're just extending that functionality of virtual tables to allow internal or BC licensed user to access BC data through Power Pages, right? So you might ask, what is the difference? How do you differentiate for internal from external users, right? So this is what I'm taking from the Dynamics 365 licensing guide. Essentially, I'm just highlighting all the terms that are important. Essentially, external users are those users that not in an employee-like relationship with your company, with the company within Business Central, right? And those are external users, so they don't need to be a licensed user, and they can access BC data through Power Pages. Internal users are essentially those users that actually employee or users that are providing business processes on behalf of you or your affiliate. Those users are internal users, and they actually require BC license, even if they access it from Power Pages, right? And there's the illustration for our licensing guide to differentiate what is external and internal. For example, in this case, you can see that external users are not supposed to perform business processes on behalf of your organization, while for internal users are all licensed users that are actually performing business processes. And that's it. So I think it's time for demo. So let's start with a demo of the Power Pages support with the virtual tables, right? So we have created a demo site, which is called, it's called demo site, right? And I have opened this this Power Pages portal in here. You can see this is, for example, the Power Pages. And what I will show you is first the anonymous access of external user. In this case, the external user wants to see items for sale from Kronis USA Incorporated, right? So what I allow in this Power Pages is actually access to the items table for BC. You can see here, if I click on items, without even signing in, anonymous user like myself can actually start seeing what are the items for sale from Kronis USA, right? So that is an anonymous access of external user. Now I will show you authenticated access of external user. So let's say I'm interested to buy one of these product. So what I need to do is I need to register. So I will do that and click on register. I'll put, let's say, demo user 4 at live.com. Let me just confirm my password. Okay, so when I'm registering, I essentially creating a new entry in the native contact table inside Dataverse. So this is the registration page. So I need to put my details as a new authenticated user, external user. User 4. And I have to put an organization name. So this is essentially how I register the name of the customer for Kronis USA. So in this case, let's say the name of the customer is Demo Customer 4. Okay, so and then I'll just update. Now I'm actually logging in as a Demo User 4 and actually register a new customer for Kronis USA, which is Demo Customer 4, right? Now, not only I can also see the items table, but I can now see the sales order table. You can see that, like right now, I have no sales order because I just now register. So I want to create a new order of one of those items, right? So I'm gonna click on a new sales order. And you can see I can actually create a new order. Let me pick one of the product. Let's see, Paris guest chair. Select, put quantity 1, submit. Okay, so now I'm submitting a sales order. You can see in Power Pages, now I have access to the authenticated external user, which is demo user 4, have a sales order created through Power Pages. Now I'm going to log out, and I'm going to sign in as a third scenario, which is actually a BC, Business Central admin user that will process that sales order and ship and invoice it. So I'm going to sign in as a Azure a Microsoft Entra ID. Right? I just click on it, and I'm signing in as a licensed BC user. Now I can see all the sales order from many customer and posted sales invoice for many customer. So now I'm an authenticated internal users, and you can see here now I see there sales order from Adatum, from new customer 2, and also from the demo customer 4, which is the one that I newly created with the Power Pages, right? So what I want to do is now I'm gonna ship and invoice this one. Okay. You can see the new external user actually submit an order for Paris guest chair, so I'm going to ship and invoice it as a BC sales team or internal user, right? And you can see if I press F5, refresh, this sales order will disappear because it's converted into a posted sales invoice. You see? So now all I need to do is I need to log out, and I will let the same external user, demo user 4, to sign in and see what happened to his sales order and what happened if he actually receive a posted sales invoice. So let me sign out, and I'm going to sign in as a demo user 4. And you can see here, it end up on the sales order page, and the sales order that I submitted is gone already. So all I need to do is I check on the sales invoice, and I can see that there's a new posted sales invoice. You see? So that's essentially show you 3 different access scenario using Power Pages: anonymous access of external user, authenticated access of external user, and authenticated access of internal user. So let me show you how we actually did this demo, and there will be more documentation in detail how you can actually achieve this. First, I want to show you how we actually achieve anonymous and authenticated access for external user. So I want to show you the Business Central page, which is the one that has Microsoft Entra app users. And you can see here, there are 3 Microsoft Entra app user created for this scenario. The first one is already exists before to support Business Central virtual tables. So this is actually access BC data impersonating authenticated internal user with BC license from Dataverse. So before, when you access BC data using model-driven app or Power Automate, this is the Microsoft Entra app user used to impersonate, right? The 2 new Microsoft Entra app user that we created is actually to enable anonymous external user access and for authenticated access for external user. And you can see in here in this demo, when I click on this user, you can see it start this user actually have an entitlement to access BC data but has no permission sets. So BC admin actually have to assign permission set for this Microsoft Entra app user to make sure that only relevant BC data are accessible by anonymous external user. So in this case, for this demo, we give a wide scope of permission. For example, for this anonymous access, we provide D365 automation and D365 read. So essentially, we're allowing anonymous user to read all tables in BC. But in practicality, when you actually use this feature, you probably want to narrow the scope and create a custom permission set to make sure that they only read the relevant table, right? So that is the Microsoft Entra App User for anonymous access. And the second one is the Microsoft Entra App User for authenticated access. In this one, you want to make sure that once the external user are signed in and they want to, for example, post a sales order or make some changes, then you should probably provide a read and write access. So in this case, the permission is D365 automation and D365 business full access. Obviously, this is too wide a scope. This is just for demo purposes. In the real practicality, you probably should provide a very, very narrow read and write access to only a certain relevant table for this external user when they sign in. All right? So those are the permission set that admin have to set up. By default, none of this app user has any permission set. So by default, it's not enabled. And then what you need to do also when you design the Power Pages, you actually need to provide, for example, in the pages, let me see the setup, table permission. So this is on the site, the Dataverse site, on the Power Pages site. And you can see the table permission for this portal, right? I will want to show you the one that for anonymous access. For example, here, read all items. You can see here for a read all item, it's like actually, it's enabling virtual table, which is a DIN 365 BC item, which is a virtual table of item, BC item table in Dataverse. And a global access means anonymous user can actually access all the rows in this table, but only read. And I'm actually assigning this permission to all three type of user. So basically, anonymous user, authenticated external user, anonymous external user, and also authenticated administrator or internal user itself. So they only read only. And what I want to show you is actually access for sales order table and sales invoice table. You can see here, for example. In here, you can see this see and create orders. In here, I want to actually provide access for only for certain contacts that actually register, and only to show tables related to the customer created by that contact. And in order to do that, you achieve this through syntactic relation. So we actually set up a syntactic relation between contact native table with sales order virtual table. I will show you, this is actually the concept that we introduced with virtual table, where you can actually relate native table with the virtual table and show only relevant records from the virtual table related to the rows in the native table. Okay, so in here there's a relationship contact to sales order, and the same thing, and this is apply to only authenticated user, right? And also the same thing for invoice table. So external user signing in, they can see the invoices posted for them. And also here we have to create a syntactic relation between contact native table with the sales invoice virtual table. And how do we actually create this syntactic relation is first, we actually need to make sure to extend the contact table, because the native contact table has no idea of what is a BC customer is, right? So we actually, what we do in here, I'll show you. So it's essentially on the contact table, we add a new column that we call BC customer. And this new column is populated when a new anonymous user registered and sign up in the portal. And remember when this anonymous demo user 4 sign up and register, it puts the organization name, right? And that organization name become a BC customer name and put into this column. And the way we do that is we use that using Power Automate. So I will show you the Power Automate to do that. Let's see. Here we go. Add a new BC customer from Power Page contact registration. You can see here the trigger is essentially a data cut event. It will listen to the contact table being modified. Remember when I register as an anonymous user, I put the organization name, which is a demo customer 4. And that's actually what it listened to, right? When that is triggered, what I did is like the first thing in that in this flow is to get what is the default company setting for virtual tables. In this case, Cronus USA. So we'll get Cronus USA in this step, and then essentially add the new customer entered by this anonymous user into under the Cronus USA company, which is adding a new BC customer, right? And then after you add a new customer, you get the customer ID, and you put the ID in the column, the new column, BC customer column of the contact field. When you do that, then you can actually build a syntactic relation within native contact table with a sales order table virtual or a sales invoice table virtual in Dataverse. So let's see, let me just show you the syntactic relation. For example, here, the syntactic relation is dynamic 365 BC contact to sales order. When I click on it, you can see this syntactic relation is connecting native contact table to the sales order BC table in Dataverse. It's using the customer key, and then you can see the mapping is basically the new column or field that I create in the contact table, related, mapped to the customer ID in the sales order table, right? So that way you only show sales order related to that BC customer whenever the anonymous external user sign in. And the same thing, we do the same thing for the sales info syntactic relation, which is the same thing. Here you can see contact native to sales invoice, and the mapping is the same from BC customer field to the customer ID in the sales invoice table. And that is for the syntactic relation. Now what I want to show you is essentially, remember that there's a 3 improvement in business events, right? There is a versioning support, there is troubleshooting using system table and UI page, and then partner telemetry where we send data of business event subscription notification into App Insight. So what I did is I actually already created flow that I will highlight this event. And actually, remember in my demo, I created sales invoice, right? There's 2 flow that actually listen to sales invoice posted. So there's one sales invoice posted notification, old, which is an old version. In fact, actually, I can show you, it's actually being triggered just now. You can see 11 minutes ago when I turned that demo user for sales order into posted sales invoice, this flow is triggered. And you can see in this one, it's still using the old version of the event, which has this payload. There's only one URL, which is the API URL. But I also have another flow that's showing a new payload that's showing a web client URL that you can actually go. So I will go there. Let me go back. And this is the new one. In fact, I will just show you what's the versioning look like. So in here, you can see that here I listened to sales invoice posted, and you can see this new version 1.0, right? The difference between version 1.0 and version 0.0 is the payload has this new web client URL where you can actually open a page in the app. Okay. So in this one, you can see it's also triggered 11 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago, right? And if you click on it, you can see the payload is different. Now, the payload not only has the API URL, but it also have the web client URL. So if this web client URL, you put it in the browser, you can actually go straight into that invoice. The invoice posted for demo user 4 for a demo customer 4 that I did with Power Pages. It's opening the posted sales invoice table. You can see here, PS posted sales invoice demo customer 4. So that's a versioning support for business event. And then I want to show you the system table. This is let me just go back. Let me refresh. And this is also need to be refreshed. So what I'm showing you right now is the system tables that support troubleshooting for business event. The first table is the external event subscription. You can see there's 6 different subscriptions that's been created, and the latest one is, let me see. Yeah, just like yesterday, it was for sales invoice posted. This is the one that I created to listen to a sales invoice posted done by my Power Pages demo, right? And then in the activity log, you can see the several events being sent. For example, in fact, today, September 26, there are 3 events being sent. So actually, the first one is actually it's an event sales order release, because when I actually ship an invoice, an open sales order, it has to be released first before it got invoice. So this is the sales order release notification, and the 2 notifications for sales invoice posted is actually one, the old version, and the other one is the new version. And this is currently still only a system table, but in pretty soon we'll provide a UI page that you can actually correlate this external subscription with the activity log in one nice UI page that's coming in this November. And the final features on business event that I want to show you is essentially the partner telemetry. So in here, I'm going to go to my environment. I just want to show you here my production environment. I have put my connection string for my app inside in the tenant admin center. And now I'm going to the app inside. And in here, I'm going to run the what do you call it? The query. You can see yesterday, I make a business events subscription is created for sales invoice posted. And today, I want to show how many events are triggered successfully. I'm going to event RT0045. I'm going to run. And there you go. Today, 9/26, right? When I click on this, you can see here, for example, see there's a sales order release being, let me see. And the timing is a UTC timing, I believe. And if I put here, and you can actually see the sales invoice posted event also. Here you go. The old one and potentially the new one. Yeah, there you go. So all the sales invoice posted and the sales order release event are pushed into parent telemetry, where you can query and correlate with other data. So that's conclude my presentation. For resources, you can go to Yammer to provide feedback for us. And you can also join the conversation through Twitter, or you can look at our documentation, submit ideas, and look for our busy office hour. And that's it. Thank you very much. I'll look forward to seeing you in a Q&A session remotely pretty soon, and also in person at the Direction Conference. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.